Hey, on this short video, we're going to review a 2-seam and a 4-seam fastball and how to hold it with the pressure points with the seams and against the seams. So first of all, how to hold it. On our fingers, the last part of our digits is what I call the fat pads right here. These are out at the end. These are the last things that we put the pressure on the baseball, and the last finger that leaves the baseball, no matter how you hold it, is going to be the middle finger. So let's look at a 2-seam fastball. There's two types of 2-seams fastballs. Very simply, there's one's called a 2-seam fastball against the seams or across the seams. Pretty much, here are the 2 seams right here, and I'm resting my fingers across the seams. Now, if you notice on the side where I'm holding that is I'm getting that middle finger. Remember, the middle finger is the last thing to leave the ball, even for a lefty or a righty. It's the middle finger as you pronate in. This middle finger you want to be right up on a seam. You don't want it above because it'll slide. You don't want it below because it'll slide. You want it hooked right behind that seam right there. Now, depending on your hand size, if you can get your fingers together, that ball will have a tendency to move more because there's less surface area on the ball as opposed to me spreading out my fingers. But that just depends on your hand size. If you can, fingers together, middle finger right on that seam. That's a 2-seam fastball across the seams. This is a movement pitch. This pitch is the same thing. Watch, if I just rotate the ball through and rotate it, it's now going a 2-seam fastball with the seams. Same pitch. Spread apart, move it over, middle finger again is on that seam. So the reason why they call it a 2-seam fastball is when it leaves the fingers and it's traveling to the plate, there's the 2 seams, and then there's no seams going across here. 2 seams, no seams going across here. Now for the pitch that I want to go straight and usually about 2 miles an hour harder, now we're going to look at the horseshoe. Whether the horseshoe's on the inside or the outside, that's just a preference. But the same principle applies. I'm taking my fingers, the middle of the fat pad, I'm putting here on top of the ball, on top of the seam, not above the seam where it slides, not below the seam where it slides. I hook it right into here, and you'll feel like there's almost like a little notch. That gives you that good spin ratio when I come off and pronate through. The reason why they call it a 4-seam fastball is, look, I let go, there's 1 seam going across, there's 2 seams going across, there's 3 seams going across, and finally there's 4 seams going across. The 4-seam pitch will go harder than a 2-seam for the most part and will go straighter for the most part. On your 2-seam pitch, here's my 2 seams, whether it's across or across the seams or with the seams, that ball is going to have the tendency to move more. So that on a lefty, that's going to sink out this way. But anyway, hopefully I gave you a quick little video on 2-seam and 4-seam fastballs on how to hold it. And this ball, by the way, you'll have, this is, just that pulled out of a bucket. This is one of those pleather balls, so this is really, really slippery. Make sure that when you're working with baseballs that you're getting a good leather baseball to work with so you can really get your grips in. Hey, thanks for listening. Nuke out.